Okay. Sorry, I'm late. I joined to the wrong link. Uh, so I'll give. I'll start in like about 3 minutes per 5 past to see whether um more people joined and we'll begin. Okay, so to make a start and then probably people join in along the way. So before we start, obviously while the session is going on, people will be expected to turn off their mics so we won't have any interference as the session goes on until people probably when we have Q&A session, then people can like ask questions either from the chat or turning their mics on. But right now, everybody's mic should be turned off apart from the person that is speaking, obviously. And obviously, we're recording this session if everyone's probably okay with that, so we can upload it afterwards for people who may miss this session, so people can come back to it. So I'm going to share my screen now. That's to go through the overview of the session before we have our speaker come on board. Um, wait. Please give me a thumbs up. You can see the screen. Okay, thank you very much. So today's theme for this session is African crafts global standards. So we're going to be focusing on how we can build skills for international opportunities. And this is our second hangout for the year as well. Our first one was in February, and then we have the second one now, and then different themes, different hangouts will be on different themes, helping African creatives kind of like build skills in different areas. So for the day, that's focusing on how we can build our craft and then also position ourselves for opportunities. And yeah, this for the so for the objective for today is to equip African creators with practical skills and industry understanding to attract international opportunities in African and animation and production. Sorry. So yeah, that's the focus of today. Kind of like basically we're focusing on people in animation and design and film and other type of creative industries. So we're helping African creators have the understanding to attract opportunities either locally but and also most importantly internationally. So that's the main objective of today, and also focusing on identifying global creative production standards, addressing skill gaps hindering international access, learning steps for technical and storytelling improvement, and also helping creators achieve global visibility while maintaining cultural identity. So those are the key focuses for today, and I hopefully by the end of this session, we'll be able to help you build these skills and know how help you identify how to position yourselves for global opportunities and also for production to reach like you'll help your work reach a global production standard. So that is what we're going to achieve today. So the overflow of this session, overview of the session. So for about 25 minutes, we're going to have a masterclass from our speaker covering competing globally as an African creative. And then after that, we'll have about 10 minutes for a quick Q&A session, covering maybe stuff that I've not covered, any questions that you have for our speaker, we'll go over them and that's period. Then also towards the end of the session, we'll have like a creative challenge launch where you we'll be going through an exercise that you guys can participate in after the session at your own time with a deadline as well. But before then, we'll also have one of my team come in to speak about the ebook that'll be useful for African creatives as well in positioning themselves for opportunities. And we may have like we may run over the session with a we'll run over a few minutes over the session just to get these information pass this information across, just to get like just to let you guys know on time that we may go a little bit over time for the session. So now would introduce our speaker for today, and I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name right, but like his name is Tioluwani Elestro, if I pronounce your name right. So he's also known as Taiko, I believe it's Taiko, pronounced as Taiko, and he's a Nigerian-based multidisciplinary design professional and freelance motion designer and video editor, serving a global client base. With over 5 years in the industry, he has worn many hats, including UI and UX designer, graphic designer, brand strategist, and creative and technical director at an animation startup. Passionate about education and mentorship, he has developed numerous practical frameworks for developing world-class creative skills. He shares these tools on his Instagram platform Tycho's Creatives, where he is dedicated to helping fellow creators discover, develop, and deploy their unique talents. When he's isn't working with clients, he's constantly expanding his own toolkit. A lifelong learner, he fine-tunes over a dozen diverse skills in his free time, ranging all the way from songwriting and music production to character design and animation, which is quite interesting. So right now, I would hand over to our speaker for the day for him to take over the next 25 minutes or so, teaching his stuff. So I'll hand it over to you now.
All right. Thank you very much, Victoria, for that warm welcome. I'm really, really, really excited to be here. Like you said, I'm really interested and I really have a passion for helping people discover, develop, and deploy their creative capacities and abilities. And so I trust that through the course of this session, we'll be able to meet the objectives that you have listed out. And I'll be sharing with the entire people that we have here some of the practical frameworks that I've developed for developing and deploying creative skills. Just to make sure, can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so we have 25 minutes, so let's get right into it. So how this meeting will go is designed to span two parts. The first part, I'm going to be talking really about the creative development. That is developing skills to meet a global standard. And then the second part, I'm going to be talking about creative deployment. That is some of the things that have helped me that I've learned in my experience that have helped me position well for capturing global opportunities. Now, disclaimer, sometimes I talk really fast and we have 25 minutes, so I'm gonna try to like cover as much as I can. But if at some point I'm like racing through this, just call my attention and be like, okay, sir, please slow down, slow down, slow down. And I will. The most important thing is that you leave here with a clear idea of practically what you need to do to move from where you are to the next step. It may not be easy, it may not be as quick as you want it, but it will be true, it will be practical, and it will help you grow if you apply it. All right. So let's talk about developing global excellence. Now, this quote that I put here is something that came out of 5 years plus of studying creatives, growing in creative fields, looking at some of the highest level creatives in the world in various industries. And I took all of many of the lessons that I learned and compressed it into this single line. And that is creativity is 33% exposure, 33% systems, 33% grit, and 1% talent. We could take like a 4-hour masterclass just explaining that one quote and all the layers of it. But I wanted to start with it because as we talk about all the things that we're going to talk about, it's going to somehow find its way back here. And this is a quote you can use to kind of remember some of the steps or some of the things to help you have language and to remember like the quick tips and some of the things that we're going to be presenting here. So exposure, grit, systems, and just a tad bit of talent, right? Yeah, so that's one thing that I want you to keep in mind. So exposure, that's the first thing that we're going to be talking about. You see, you can't meet global standards if you do not know global standards. If you're not aware of global standards, you can't hit any global standards. So you have to be exposed. And this is very, 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 very key fundamentally. And I'm going to show you why. In the year 1954, right? I'm going to show you a quick story to establish the effects here. In 1954, there was this athlete. His name was Roger Bannister. And at the time, I'm not going to go into all the story, but I want to show you the power of being exposed and of allowing yourself to actually see beyond your current locality. There was this thing that they all believed, and it was that you can't run, I believe it was a mile, under 4 minutes. Yeah, you can't run a mile under 4 minutes. Everybody at the time felt that it was humanly impossible. But then Roger Bannister was like, yo, I think this thing is possible. And so he did it. But the fact that he didn't isn't the big deal, isn't the breakthrough. Is the fact that once other people all around the world saw that one person did it, all of a sudden it's like the blindfolds fell off and people from all over the world started to do it. After about a year, like 12 people all over the world had already done it. And over the years, more and more people started to do it. What am I saying here? When you are open to what is happening on a global standard within your industry, immediately your taste, your bar of what excellent work is shoots to the top. And it like goes through the roof. And that's why it's very, 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 very important to be exposed and to open yourself to what people are doing on a global standard. And how do we do that as creatives? It's very simple. You've probably heard this word many times, but it is very, very, very important for growing as a creative. And that is use references. I was listening to this environment designer. I believe his name is Edward Lee. He worked with Riot Games on Arcane. I believe he worked season 1 and season 2, but this particular talk was from season 2, and he said something that I think is very profound. Before I go into what he said, I spoke to a friend, and he was jokingly saying, you know, I'm a good creative. I know what I'm doing. I don't need references. And we laughed at it because we both know that he was joking. But what Edward Lee said was, the more professional you are, the more references you use. Let that sink in and think about it for a moment. Because sometimes one of the things that holds us back is the ego or the pride, or we think that, no, now I've been doing this for some years, you know, I know my crafts, I don't need to look outside, I don't need to use references, I know what I'm doing. And you may have a point, you know, you may have been in the game for a while, But if you're not constantly exposed to references, to seeing what other people are doing, you are not expanding your capacity, you are not growing, you are not moving with actually where things are in the craft at the time. I mean, I've been in many industries, but one of the places that I've like practiced over a long period of time is like motion design. And over the years, motion design has really gone up and down. And even in animation, right? Animation has shifted over the years. But if you're not open, if you're not looking out, when Arcane and Spider-Verse came out, right? The kind of animation that was done, this actually goes to kind of represent the Bannister effect. The kind of animation that was done beforehand was usually, Pixar style. It was kind of like a usual shading style and rendering. But once that came out and people saw it, people just started experimenting. And honestly, right now, stylized animation has so many different varieties in today's world. That's the power of like being exposed to what is happening. Now, when we talk about references, right? There's one thing I want to really hit before we go deep into that. Yeah, keep up Demon Hunters. That's true. That's true. That also that went its own direction and really raised the bar. But right before I go deep into it, let me just put this important disclaimer. I'm sure many of us here are already in one industry, or we're already in the crafts. But I just felt it's important to put this disclaimer. If you are learning a skill for the first time, so let's say you're learning animation for the first time, or you're learning sculpting, or you're learning texturing, learn the tool. So if it's animation, learn Maya or Blender. If it's texturing, learn Blender or Substance Painter. If it's sculpting, also learn Blender, or you can learn ZBrush. But learn the tool and then take the time to actually find references, so that when we take some of the steps that we're about to talk about, you will already know, you will not go back with the software and like be fighting the tool, but you already know the tool and you're able to now utilize it to execute the kind of work that you want to execute. So now I'm going to be talking about two things. One is how to find references, and when you find references, what to actually do with them to ensure that you are growing as a creative. Now, step one, where do we find references? Now, here's how I do it and what I've seen like very helpful for me. And that is your social media channels, curate them carefully. I've realized that some people, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, but some people like you're scrolling through Instagram and you're just seeing like memes and jokes and all of that. And I'm like, yo, your life a joke. Like all of these things, not like they're bad or anything. But if you want to be intentional about really opening yourself to high level work on a global standard, then curate your social media channels to ensure that they are showing you work that is high level on a global standard. So what I do is I have, this may be extreme, right? And maybe it's just because of my current expertise, but just to give you an example, I created last year different Instagram pages, right? One for motion design, one for video editing, one for content creation, one for 2D animation, one for 3D animation. And in all of those channels, I curated, these are the people I want to follow. When I started, not channels, the pages. Some of these pages don't have my picture. I don't use, okay, some of them are public, some of them I post on, but more of them, I don't actually post on them. They are not for posting, they are for finding references. So what I do is I set like a 4-minute timer. That personally I use a 4-minute timer. And when I'm scrolling this, let's say I'm scrolling my motion design page, I'm just seeing great motion design work. And when I come up across something that, I want to save this for the future, I copy the link and then I paste it somewhere where I have like a couple of links. It's a WhatsApp group I created where I have a couple of links to just great work from all over, so that whenever I'm actually like currently working on a motion design project, I can go back and I can look at the curated list of references I've put together of great work that I've found over time. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand? If thumbs up if you're following. Okay, awesome. That's great. So that's how I gather my references together. And over time with those pages, now they are now blending together because of the algorithm is now realizing that, oh, I like video editing and motion design, so they're now blending into each other. But essentially, as I scroll through my feed, I'm not seeing a bunch of random things. I'm seeing curated great work from all over the world, like guys in China with the things they do in their animation and their arts. I'm seeing some great video editing work from Brazil. Just amazing work from all over the world is popping up on my feed. But here's the thing, right? References are just the beginning. when you start and when you look at references, right, and you see all of this great work, it can be like, wow, it raises the bar for you. You're able to see that there's so much out there. That Bannister effect begins to happen, and you're like, I can do a lot more. But it doesn't just stop at admiring the reference. You need to go a step further. You need to learn how to analyze references. And this is what separates the good from really the great, the best of the best. They know how to really look at creative work. Really, they know how to look at the world and analyze it and simplify and actually draw out the principles, the fundamentals, the process that is actually allowing them to create that kind of great work that they're creating. So whenever you come across a reference, let's say you found this great animation piece that is just blowing your mind. Like this week, I saw I was looking for it after for this meeting, but I wasn't able to find it. Somebody on Threads did a really good animation of the Avatar intro, Avatar: The Last Airbender. He redid the intro and was very, 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 very good. So when you see something like that, what I do, I download it to my system and then I like go frame by frame and I see, okay, the fundamentals, how did they apply the fundamentals? What principles in our crafts did they apply? And what was the creative process that they used to get to this end result? So for answering that last question, I like to look at like I try to get your hands on as much behind the scenes, as much work in progress work as you can get, and listen to podcasts where creatives or professionals in your industry talk about the thinking behind the work, the process behind their work, the pipeline behind their work. Let me give you an example of some of the applications of this. Like in motion design, there's this podcast, School of Motion. I used to listen to it a lot, and it really, really helped me understand the thinking behind some of the best motion designers out there. In video editing, there's another podcast, the Reframed podcast. I was listening to an episode yesterday where he brings on directors and they talk about like how they accomplish some of their shots, how they're able to get some of those end results, the thinking behind getting to some of those concepts, so that when you see the end results, you are seeing it through the lens of how they were actually able to do it. And that expands your capacity as a creative. I can even give an example of something very that we can all relate to. On the Kehillah group recently, somebody posted this thing of how is this Kenyan made. I don't know if you guys saw that video. If you saw the video, please put a thumbs up. Of a really, really, really good. Oh, wait, many of us didn't see the video. It was on Kehillah group like 3 weeks ago. Oh, okay. It seems like many of us didn't see it. Okay, so I was going to give an example with that, but if we didn't see it, then I think I'll just move past it. But you understand the concept of whenever you see great work, ask yourself, what were the fundamentals? For example, in animation, how did they apply anticipation in this animation? How did they apply follow through? How did they apply squash and stretch? Like if you look at it through the lens of these like principles, you now see, oh, that's what they did there. They squinted the eyes a little bit. I see what they did with the head shape. If you watch Zootopia or Bad Guys too, you see some of the things that they did there. It's just open your eyes to see, oh, these are some of the possibilities. But after analyzing and you see, you've now broken down your reference. You found great reference. You've broken it down. You've seen how they applied the principles. You understand, oh, this was the process they used behind the work. How do you now ensure that you as a creative, you are implementing that? Remember, we are talking about developing your craft to the point of global standards, developing your creativity to the point where your execution matches that of what is globally considered excellent. The third step, which is probably my favorite, is what I call the system of private victories. What are private victories? Private victories are skills or tasks you perform on a consistent basis to ensure that you are growing in your craft. Now, why do I call them private victories? Because private victories aren't things that you post on social media. They are not the things that people are going to see and going to be like, oh my God, wow, you're such a great creative, you're such a great animator, you're such a great editor, you're such a great filmmaker. Nope, it's none of that. It's the things that, I saw how in that piece they used scotch and stretch in a particular way. How can I do a practice session where I'm actually implementing what I analyzed from the reference in my work? I saw they used one amazing transition in that video. How can I create time in my own schedule to find one of my videos and try to practice implementing what I saw in my own work? You may not get it. In fact, most of the time, A lot of it may be scrappy, a lot of it may be like stuff that may not be all that presentable, but the key is that you are growing, you are learning, you are becoming a better creative through the process of private victories. So there are 4 pillars that make private victories practical and things that you can actually do. And those are things that I'm going to look into shortly. But right before I go into that, I just want to give an example. So me personally, how I implement private victories is, like we said in the intro, I have a bunch of creative skills that I am very interested in, from music production to writing to animation, character design. So I have a list of all these skills. I really, really want to grow in these skills. Aside from my professional work, the motion design and video editing I do for my clients. So in all of these skills, I set out some time every day. Some of them is 15 minutes. Some of them is as low as 5 minutes, actually, but it's done 5 times a week. And it has as we look at the pillars of private victories, you see how that scales out. So it's listed out, is I have the time attached, and I'm just consistently doing very small tasks. Some days it's just open the software, learn what one new button does, and that's it for that day. The next day, use that button to create something. The thing may not even look nice. The next day, try to come back and refine that thing you created. It's not about getting to a result. It's about how it is making you as a creative become better. And over time, I have seen how that has now seeped into the client's work. So some of my video editing work, I apply some of the things that I learned in private victory sessions, and my clients are like, wow, your videos are just getting better and better and better. And that is because there's this back end, there's this foundation that of private victories that nobody is seeing. So what are the pillars that now make private victories? Just feedback. Are we following? Is this good? Are we learning something? Thumbs up if any of that is true. All right, awesome. That's great. All right, so what are the 4 pillars of private victories? I hope I'm not too fast, but it sounds like I'm not too fast anyway. So yeah, what are the 4 pillars of private victories? One is your objective. It needs to be clear. It needs to be very clear. This thing, this goal, this craft that I'm trying to practice, what is my end goal with it? For example, like me, this is getting a little personal. There's some stories I want to tell that I'm still building the skills to be able to tell them. And because of those stories, and I want to be able to do it in a world where I want to be able to like design the character, sculpt the character, rig the character, animate the character, put them in my own world. I want to be able to do some of those things. And so because of that vision I have, for you, it may be, I want to just get better at video editing, or I want to just get better at my animation, or there's a level of animation I want to reach, or there's a certain client I want to work for, but in order to work for them, I need to develop my skill to a certain level. Whatever it is for you at whatever season of life you're in, just having an objective as clear as it can be will guide the rest of the process, because that's objective 1, that pillar 1 will really, really help you for pillar 4, because consistency is the make or break part. And a lot of times, the clearer the objective, the more consistent you can be. So the objective is one thing. Number 2 is a curriculum. This is very, 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 very important for sticking to private victories over a long period of time. So there are 2 kinds of curriculum. You can have others generated curriculums, which is like free or paid courses. And let me just say this, there are a lot of amazing free resources on YouTube these days. Like, it is unbelievable the amount of information that is available for free for learning creative skills, particularly like in the animation film industries. Those industries, I have never actually, in the past, I had never taken like a course on some of the things I do professionally right now. I had just learned on YouTube. That being said, there is value in some paid courses are really, really good. And if you do have the budgets, which in Nigeria, honestly, that's very hard. But some paid courses are really, really, really good. But even if you can't afford paid courses, like so much, I've built a lot like of my career from free resources. God has helped me. I've leveraged a lot of free resources. But even in the absence of that, you can also do what I call a self-generated curriculum. Now, this is a little harder to make, to be honest, and it takes a little bit of time, but I'm putting it here because I want us to know that it is possible. You can look at and this is what I did when I was learning 2D animation particularly. I didn't have I wasn't able to afford any course. I couldn't do any course. So what I did is I watched, like, I don't want to say 100 YouTube videos, but I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and then kind of drafted out a course for myself that, okay, if I want to learn 2D animation, I need to learn the principles of animation. I need to learn solid drawing. I need to learn this. I need to learn that. And I like mapped out this entire course and curriculum and started following it for myself. And that helped me to grow to a certain level, to a pretty good level, honestly, in 2D animation. So you can actually develop a self-generated curriculum and it can work. It can work very, very well. And the items in that curriculum will now form the tasks that you put into your daily routine. So a routine is a very important part of your private victories. A time every single day for me is 9 to 11 every morning. To be more specific, 9:15 to 11:15. But anyway, every morning I try to run through my private victories crafts before I do any client work, except I have a like really tight deadline. Before I do any client work or any other thing, I just run through it so that like I can maintain that consistency and I can grow in all the things I'm trying to grow in. And of course, the last one is consistency. So I'm gonna fly up to the next part of this talk, which is creative deployment. So I just spent like 20 minutes talking about creative development, but let me just say this: allow yourself the time. I talked about it in 20 minutes. It can take 20 weeks to really set up some of these systems. Allow yourself the time to really invest in building the proper foundations and growing so that you can have the skill sets necessary to be able to actually harness global opportunities. So when it comes to creative deployment, right, finding global opportunities, the things I'm about to talk about are very simple. They're not necessarily the easiest things to do, however. And I also want to say something when it comes to deployment. Creative development, developing your skills for global excellence is almost like a science. It's like if you do this, look at references, analyze those references, apply the skills, the things you are seeing in those references in your own work, do that for X amount of time consistently, your work will become great. I can almost guarantee that because I've seen it work for myself. I've seen it work for so many people all over the world. Deployment, however, is more of a probabilistic game in the sense that it's almost like a numbers game. There's a lot of putting things out there. However, that being said, there are things you can do to really increase your chances. And these are things that we've probably heard of. Okay, yeah. These are things that you've probably heard of. These are things that you've probably like seen before. So I'm going to rush through them a little bit because our time is kind of short. But I'm going to also share some of the examples that have helped me. So again, in deployment, your objective is very important. And here's the thing, in Nigeria, right? Or maybe in African countries, a lot of times people, because of some of the things that we've come out of or are coming out of, is like the objective is just let me just make money. Let me find something to be doing. But honestly, if you have a much clearer objective in, okay, this is the kind of work I want to do, these are the kind of people I want to work for, it will help everything down the line. It will help you greatly define the kind of strategies you are going to implement to ensure that you're actually able to meet those objectives. So having very clear objectives helps. And one of the ways to define your objectives is to run spec work experiments. So what is a spec work experiment? I'm going to give you an example really quickly. I had 3 skills and that I wanted to push out as things I do professionally: 2D motion design, 3D motion design, and video editing. Now, I removed 3D motion design because I did a spec work experiment. I wanted to do like a 3D motion design piece. And I realized that my PC could not do that piece. So I said, okay, you know what? 3D motion design, I love you. Editing spec work. What is spec work? It's like professional work. Doing it to show your clients that, hey, this is the kind of work that you can. Oh, wow. It helps them to trust you before they actually hand you their own work and their money. They see, oh, he has done this before. We can trust him with ours. So spec work is a great way to position yourself as an expert in whatever it is that you want to do once you have a very clear objective of what it is that you actually want to do. So when you actually now do spec work, what do you do with that spec work? You create what I call targeted content. So targeted content is content that speaks directly to the kind of person that you are trying to have as a client or you're trying to work with. And as you put that work out there on your social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, that's your target ICP, your target customer now begins to find you. So let me speak like from my personal experience, right? A lot of, you see these 2 things that I put here, target content and great client relationships. A lot of my client base have come first from content, like simple content. And I could even do it, like I could do a lot more in content, but the little content I put out, a lot of my clients has come from them. And then this is the very important part: word of mouth. And this is the second part I was talking about here, great client relationships, word of mouth. A lot of things that happens is when you work with one client and they are really, really happy with you, they talk to you about somebody else, and then that person comes and works with you, and then that person is really happy with you. That person talks to you, to somebody else, and that's how, honestly, that has helped me a lot greatly in working with clientele outside the country, particularly because Nigeria, our PR is not great, right? The word out there about our country isn't all that great. But when you have great word of mouth, when clients know you as a person of integrity, somebody that does great work consistently, somebody that like is a human being that actually truly cares about your clients, when they see that about you and you are consistent with it, they begin to talk to others about you. And you can ask, hey, do you know somebody else? Okay, so time. Do you know, I'm going to round up now. Do you know somebody else that is interested in kind of thing that I'm doing for you? And with time, you begin to like grow your clientele that way. So with these things that I have shared, right, I want to encourage you to take the time, go back, think through it, see where you are in your creative journey, where you can actually apply it. All right, I'll come to that in a second. Where you can actually apply it, and then begin to implement it and take those steps. And that way you'll be able to grow, one, in your creative capacity to excellence, and two, as you develop spec work, put it out and build those client relationships with consistency. You also develop the right client relationships on a global standard to do great work globally. Thank you very much. All right. So thank you very much. So I saw a okay.
Oh, sorry. I also want to thank you for the session because, like, you actually went through a lot in like few minutes, which was great. And even though like we're 4 minutes over time, but like that's okay. So we'll go to question and answer now quickly before we move on. And somebody already has a question in the chat, and he says, "I have a problem with using references. I may start using references, but along the way, I usually get carried away and forget that I was using a reference to begin with. How do you suggest I combat that inadequately?"
Inadequacy. Okay. So what I would say is, when you have a reference, I would say essentially art direction in the very beginning. And what I mean by that is, when you have a reference or a set of references, extract in words the creative decisions that you are bringing out from these references. I would have loved to know what crafts you are in so that like I can like specify that. But essentially, let's say I do a lot of video editing now. So let's say, okay, 3D animation. Okay, awesome. So now that I know this 3D animation, I may think through this. I may take a slightly different. I may answer this a second way. But let me just finish this flow of thoughts. So look at the references. Okay, what is the lighting that they used? Let's say 3D animation, right? What was the lighting scenario that they used? Okay, extract that in like writing. Have that. I used to prepare pitch decks for my work. Even for like important personal projects, I'll actually prefer a pitch deck. All the pitch deck is okay, my lighting, this is what I want it to be. My modeling, I saw that they used maybe sub D or something, or a certain style or something. This is what I want it to be. My camera angles and camera motion, okay, this is what I want it to be. So essentially, at every step of your animation process, define what out of that reference you are actually taking to implement, and then begin to implement it in that particular step. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Awesome. Do you feel like that will help you, and that will really help you combat that inadequacy?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it will.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. Awesome.
Okay, any other questions? There were some people who joined in like during the session, so you might have missed some parts, but like we have this session recorded anyways, so in case people like came in late during the session, you can revisit the recording to know where he was teaching from, and so you can catch up with what you have missed. For now, we can already go back and we say what he said. But does anyone else have any questions before we move to the next segment of the session?
Sorry, I think I may have another question.
Okay, sure, shoot.
Yeah. So, like I said, I am into 3D animation. At the same time, I also want to learn 3D rigging. You
3D
get that?
what?
Rigging.
Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes, from time to time, I always get like caught up in between the two. Like I always want to do the two at the same time because like I'm always having this pressure of like there is no time for me to do it too. If I can learn one, I can subsequently be learning the other um on the other hand. And sometimes that can get overwhelming. Yeah, how can you suggest I combat that kind of stuff and keep myself grounded and not overwhelm myself with too much to do at once.
Okay, so you want to learn how to rig, you are kind of already in animation. So you are growing the craft of animation. It sounds like you're already a little further ahead in that, but like rigging, you're like at like
Yeah,
far lower and you want to
yeah,
kind of like, sorry?
the bare basics.
Okay, bare basics. So cool, like just what I talked about. I don't know if you're around when I talked about private victories, right?
Yep.
So what I would do is if my animation is at a level where there's this thing, I didn't have time to talk about this, I didn't even put it in the slides, but there's this thing where I have some crafts are in maintenance mode, some crafts are in development mode. So if your animation is at a certain level where you feel is really good, I just want to keep doing this so that I am incrementally getting better, or I'm not like getting worse, but it's already really good. You can go into maintenance mode. And what is maintenance mode? Maintenance mode is I spend like 10, 15 minutes on this crafts outside client. Like all of this I'm saying is outside client's work, completely outside client's work. So 10 to 15 minutes on that crafts. Sometimes for me, some of the crafts is just 5 minutes actually. But let's just say 10 to 15 minutes on the crafts. And okay, I do something really small. Again, a private victory is not for like out there. I do something really small, but I'm just like doing it consistently, personally on a daily basis. Then for the development crafts, I like spend like 30 minutes on that every day. Right? So in this case, for rigging, first of all, I'll get like a really, really, really good curriculum. So unfortunately, I know this course is going to be very hard to get, but P2 Design has an amazing course on rigging.
Out of
But,
effective design. Out
yes,
of effective yeah, I have
yes,
I have the course already.
awesome. You have the course.
Yeah, I
Just
have
set
the
out
course already.
30 minutes every day, bro. 30 minutes
All right.
every day. And the goal is not to the goal is to spend the 30 minutes every day. The goal is not to achieve something. The goal is not to get to a certain point. The goal is the consistency. The consistency will naturally yield growth, but don't hold yourself up to some standard. Just 30 minutes every day, I'm rigging. As you do that, 1 month, you will become way better. See, I can almost promise you that.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Okay, so somebody asked a question in the chat. It says, I left 3D animation because of system and got back this year because I got a gaming laptop. Awesome. That's great to hear, man. I've been doing video editing and motion graphic design using Maya, and I see Blender render so much faster. Do you think I should transit to Blender or continue to Maya because of rendering time? So okay, wait, let me think about this a little bit because I don't want to answer from a place of bias. Do you think I should transit to Blender? I'm going to say this. No matter what you do, learning Blender will not be a waste. So I would say that if you have a project that's currently tied to Maya, then you can keep using it, but learn Blender nonetheless. Because the versatility of that tool is just too much as a 3D artist to pass by. There are so many things that Blender can do and so many opportunities it gives you in terms of things you can execute that I would honestly strongly suggest that you still learn it anyway. I'm a huge Blender fan, but that even on the side, from outside bias, I would say still learn Blender. Again, private victories, 15 minutes every day, 30 minutes every day, whichever one you think like is the best for your current situation or your current like phase in life, I will still say learn Blender nonetheless. And you see, there's no harm in using two softwares. You say you do video editing. I use Premiere Pro and I use somebody wrote a comment that was really funny. I use Premiere Pro and I use DaVinci Resolve, and I go back and forth between them. It's honestly a superpower when you can use multiple softwares. So by all means, go for it. All right. So yeah, that's what I'll say to that. Okay, another person asked a question. Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, CapCut. What's the fourth one? Yeah. Anyway, so wait, do I have somebody else asked the question? Victoria, can I continue?
Can we just go through this last one, and that'll be it, so we can move on.
Okay. Awesome. So this will be the last one. So Benedict, I am a creative who loves doing digital art, graphic design, and video editing. I understand you, bro. I have been there. I have really been there. How do you think I can balance pitching the three of them? Okay, so I'm going to give you the honest truths right now. Depending on the phase of life you're in, right? You are going to have to make a choice as to what, or let me tell you what I have done. Let me put it this way. What I have done, I've had to make a choice. I think it's a wise decision, to be honest. I have to make a choice of these three. In the phase of life I am right now, what is the one I am going to prioritize as the thing I am going to put out as my primary expertise? So here's the thing. I do brand identity and strategy. I have done 3 in the last like 6 months. I do not put that thing out. Nobody on social media knows that I do it. It's the people that have seen my work and behind closed doors that know that I can do that, and I deliver it for them. But out there, what I pitch is video editing, and then to a different set of group of people, I pitch motion design. So, and those are because those two things are so closely intermingled that I can kind of do that. So I would advise that find the intersection of passion, purpose, and profits. So of these 3 things, what is the thing that you see that there's a market for? You see that you have excellence in the skill set for, and you see that, okay, I can do this consistently and I can enjoy doing it as for other people. And then the other ones, have them as a private victory, or have them as things that when people approach you for the first one, they know, wow, this guy is a great. I had the clients. I worked on a video editing project, and then just asked me, okay, I had the clients. I did a motion design project. Now asked me, can you edit videos? I said yes. I worked on video editing projects for him. He recommended me to somebody else, and that's that. Another one, I worked on a video editing project. He asked me, can you design a logo? I said yes. I now worked on like the logo design for him. So that's how like I've been able to do it. Because honestly, I've seen a lot of people trying. Okay, so yeah, let me know. I don't want to overstretch. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we will leave it there. And we're really restricted by time. If I'd known, I would have made this session really, a bit longer, but this is what we have time for. And Tulunwani is also in the community group chat on WhatsApp. So if anyone is part of the community and wants to connect with him afterwards, they can do that afterwards. And if they have any more questions, we can have that afterwards. But this is the time we have for now. And quickly, we want to
it doesn't mean.
Sorry.
So yeah. All right, Victoria, over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that session, by the way. So before we go to the last part of the session, we want to talk to you about an ebook. We want you guys to be aware about, to help you like in your journey as African creatives to position yourselves for opportunities as well, which we'll go through by one of the members of our team. She's supposed to be here. I think she left the chat now. But before she comes back on, I'll quickly go through this challenge that you guys can take part in if you wish. This is not compulsory, but if you wish to engage with this challenge, just to kind of like get you guys engaged with something at the end of the session. And this is something you can go through in your own time, as there's a deadline for this, and also something to be won at the end of it as well. So I will share my screen quickly, just to quickly go through it in 5 minutes or so, before we go through the final part and end the session. So I'll be presenting my screen again. Okay. So the theme for the challenge is African rhythm in motion. So obviously the main mission of what you should be doing is creating a 5 to 10 seconds animated piece. Either that's for people who are into animation, but if you're maybe into like video editor design or whatever, you can maybe adapt the challenge into your different areas. But this is like focus on an animated piece where you're creating like a 5 to 10 second animated piece inspired by African movement, rhythm, storytelling, emotion, folklore, music, spirituality, everyday life, or cultural identity. You can pretty much do this however you like. There's not really any strict, no thing to follow, but obviously, just adapt these main things into whatever you're producing. Some key focuses are storytelling clarity, time and spacing, animation principles. Like our speaker has also mentioned some of them today. Can focus on emotional impact, cultural authenticity, creative discipline, or portfolio quality, presentation. Um, so yeah, you can also interpret it into these different elements. You can interpret it as a dance or movement, drumming and music, folklore, spiritual symbolism, fashion, African futurism, childhood memories, market and street life, identity and ancestry, community and connection. These are just to give you like ideas how to interpret this theme, but like you can interpret it as any way you like. So it must be between 5 to 10 seconds long. You must have like a one clear motion or one clear moment or action or emotion, and it must be exporting like a high quality, also submitted by the deadline. I will just mention the deadline in a minute. It must include a short description, and also it can be in any format you would like, whether it's 2D, 3D motion graphics, experimental, mixed media, stop motion, any format would be acceptable. So potential deadline for this is 19th of June, and it should be sent to us via email at kehillahstudios@gmail.com. And also to encourage people to participate, to also give a cash prize of £10 or 10,000 naira, depending on whether you're in the UK or in Nigeria. And also we'll feature the winners piece on our social media platforms. And so yeah, we'll also be screening during our events as well. If we have any future events, including our future hangouts, and also in our community show reels, and also on our platform, like I just said. So that is that. Also, usually I share information after each session, whether people want to contact us, or if you're not part of our community on WhatsApp, because you can also request to join that via email if you're not part of it. Because we have a community of creatives, African creatives on WhatsApp, where we can connect with other people and also engage when we work, and also receive like opportunities for you what I usually share in the community. And also we have future opportunities where people can join our creative production pool to work with us on an IP projects, which will like officially announce like in a couple of weeks, in a week or two, that will be officially announced. But like there are opportunities to work with us as well on animation projects, as we also concluded like an animation project last month called the Beiji. I don't know whether some of you have seen it on my page or on Kehillah's page on LinkedIn, but we have shared that like we have finished working on the project, and it's currently under festivals. Well, we're currently submitting them in festivals as well before we officially release it to the public for viewing. So that is that. I don't know if she's here now. So that is that. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay. So Chidima, I don't know if you can speak about the ebook now for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. It's such a pleasure to be here, and can't wait to be in the midst of cases. Like, nice to meet you. Big shout out to Toluwani. Um, Thank you so much, everyone. So yeah. Let me see if I can just quickly share my screen as soon as possible. Just a minute. Okay. Sorry. Can everyone see my screen? Thank you. Okay. So, like I said, good evening, everyone. Again, so today we're talking about the free ebook, The System Test, and not to waste too much of your time. So, first of all, I just want to say something that I discovered a common problem about young African coaches, struggling, and they are not struggling because they're untalented, but they're actually struggling because nobody taught them how to translate their value in a way that the world can immediately understand them or understand us. And I know that because I was actually one of those people. And for a long time, I genuinely believe that if I worked hard enough, right, eventually the right people will notice me. Of course they will, but yeah, and a good work could also speak for itself as well. But I also realized over time that the international market or the global market does not reward invisibility. And it rewards people who are actually visible, who actually position themselves strategically on the global space, on social platforms as well. And that has changed my life ever since. Then, I also learned something that we were not taught, and it was not just about evaluating our skills. We needed to evaluate our systems as well as Africans or even Nigerians living together, regardless of who you are as an African. Evaluating your systems in the sense like, how do you think, how you communicate, how you structure your experiences, how you solve your problems, how you make people to trust your thinking. And that was what I found out that a lot of global rooms were actually testing over time. And I learned about this during one of my most important interviews in my life, where I was in a virtual interview with a CEO who was working in Google Canada. And he was interviewing me for an international role at that point in time, right? And he asked me a question that really terrified me. And he said, how would you drive about 1,000 sales in North America in 30 days? And for me, let me be honest with you, because I've never actually worked with North America before. I've never worked in there. I've never sold anything there before or marketed there. I've never lived there. So how would I even know that? Well, and for every instance in me, normal me being a Nigerian, with my instinct wanted to actually just answer immediately so I could, sound like a very smart person. And because many of us were actually trained with that kind of confidence, for you to always have an answer to questions. But the next thing I did, immediately, I just stopped for a while and I asked for some follow-up questions. And I said, what do you already know about the audience? I asked the interviewer again, what data already exists? I also asked him, what has already been tested because I wanted him to be more specific with the question. And after that interview, he told me something, just to fast forward, he told me something that I have never forgotten. And he said that a lot of people do jump into taxes immediately. But the first thing I did was to understand the system first and even ask follow-up questions, even when I had not had any experience with the North American market. Well, and That made me realize that a lot of global opportunities are not really reserved for the most experienced people or the most experienced creators like ourselves, or people who are above us right now. And they often give the people who actually think clearly under pressure and people who can actually structure their thoughts in real time, right? People who know how to communicate their value. These are the kind of opportunities that they give to people like that. And the truth is, a lot of African creators already do difficult things every day, and we build a lot of limited resources. We build with limited resources. We learn without access. We create without infrastructure, and we survive industries that were not actually designed for us. So, and a lot of us also never learn how to position ourselves, and that's why I actually wrote this ebook, the system test. And it wasn't because I knew everything. It wasn't also because I spent 20 years in international markets, but because I documented what I learned while figuring it out in real time. So inside this ebook, I got to break things down like how to answer interview questions with structure instead of panicking, and how you as a creator can actually quantify your wins without feeling like you're bragging about your numbers. And I also show creators how to use the STAR method to sound like an experienced person, even if you are still growing, right? And lastly, how you can also frame your challenges, your disabilities for people who have some certain disabilities or limitations as workflows instead of weaknesses. And most importantly, one thing I want you to take is this ebook also teaches you how to stop waiting for permission and see yourself as a globally valuable creator, right? Because it's all from the mindset. And I need every African creative to understand that you're not a local talent. And we also hope that more African talents are being accepted globally, right? So as an African creator, you need to see yourself as a valuable talent that simply needs just better positioning, and that's a completely different mindset for you. And it can change a lot of things for you. It can change how you write, it can change how you introduce yourself, it can change how you apply for opportunities. And it also changes how you speak in rooms, how you negotiate your work, and how you show up online on social media or wherever you are physically. So, and that's why I wanted to give this ebook away free to a lot of creators and also to this community this night, because I genuinely believe that the next generation of African creators we don't need motivation. We need better frameworks, we need more systems, we need a language and a better positioning that can help us translate our talent, our brilliance into greater opportunities, right? So I think it actually starts with this particular conversation like this. So this night, I really want every single person here to live with one thought that your talent is not a questionable thing, but sometimes you need to also improve it on your positioning. And when you want to position yourself, it's something you can learn over time. So yeah, do feel free to get the system test as well. I think Victoria will drop the link below. And I really hope to hear a lot of feedback regarding this book. And I'm excited for you all to read this ebook. It's actually free. And I hope that it actually changes how you see yourself, especially as an African creator right now and forever. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Chima. So, if anyone really wants the ebook, I can send it to people afterwards via email, and I should also share the slides that we went through today to people who have attended the session now. So, thank you very much for everyone that joined. Also, thank you for our guests for being here today, and also Chima for sharing knowledge on the ebook as well. So I believe everyone has learned something today. I could go away with something um new to learn and understand. So I appreciate everyone that could make it here today. If you want any of more information about anything I've done today. Like I said, Toluwan is in the group chat. He can connect with him there. And I'll also share the slides I went through today and also the ebook to people who have attended this session. So look out for your emails within the next few days, and also come with a survey that you guys should fill. And also the challenge as well will be in the slides that I will share to you later. If you guys want to participate in that, you can do so. So I appreciate everyone for being here once again, and hopefully in our next hangout I'll see more of you, you guys here as well. So thank you very much, and see you guys next time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. I just wanted to say I can also share the PDF with you as well of the slides, and then you can share it with everyone as well. So yeah.
I have the slides already. So
Okay, awesome.
I'll share it.
Right.
Okay,
Pleasure.
thank you very much once again.
Right. Thank
See
you,
you all soon.
everyone. Bye.